who is doing their own thing, living their own life, and still inspiring others to be the way they are. So, if you know somebody like that in your life and you think that they ought to share their story, or if you are somebody like that, then go to your computer today and send us an email on bandhu@mediamahima.com. We'd love to hear from you. Again, bandhu@mediamahima.com. And are we streaming live right now, Alto Baba?
Yeah, we're on YouTube live right now. Bhajan Radio D Hotties on YouTube. जाके check करेंगे तो automatically you'll see us live over there for sure. उसको probably we might try to see if we can get you guys a link on our Facebook as well. But right now, Bhajan, आपको if you listen to us also on our app, which is Radio D Hotties, available on Android and also on iOS. Like how Fath already told you about it. But अभी के लिए, Bhajan, don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. We're going to get into a quick commercial break, and then we're getting into our wisdom series. We're going to be talking about empathy and compassion in relationships.
You know, Alto Baba, I got to share something with you today. There was a quote that somebody shared where they talked about opinion, right? People say, oh, you should value everybody's opinion, and schools teach you that, right? And they said that's the lowest form of scholarly thought, apparently, opinion. Because what is really required is empathy, to be able to understand and to be able to transcend your own ego, to actually put yourself in somebody else's shoes, understand their prerogatives and their priorities to be able to make an informed decision rather than just an opinion where you say, yeah, I know that's your opinion, that's okay, kind of thing, instead of that.
I agree with you totally on that.
Yeah, it's a beautiful quote. I think it's Bill Bullard who shared it, and he was on the he was the dean of the faculty of San Francisco High School, and he had shared this during one of those commemorative speeches at his school. So I was reading that quote, and I said, this totally ties into our wisdom series today. So here,
one of the reasons why I always tell everybody who I meet, including our kids and teachers, have to always have an opinion.
Yeah. Why?
Why not? How else will you be able to exercise empathy if you don't have an opinion about something?
Well, so rather than have an opinion, before you form the opinion, exercise empathy and compassion, Bandhujan, because opinion could be something that is not necessarily founded on research, and it could simply be founded on belief. And how deep-rooted and grounded is that belief, and how well-researched is it, or how empathetic and compassionate is that belief, is something that you would need to question.
Very true. First of all, have an opinion, then be ready to change your opinion. This is what he's saying, right?
Yes. So definitely stay tuned, because we do have our wisdom series that will be coming up in just a little bit. But before that, here's a break.
You are listening to Radio D Hotties, powered by Mahima Creations.
Hello, namaste, adab, and sat sri akal, Bay Area. My name is Eddie O'Brien, your Silicon Valley real estate broker. And no, I'm not a discount broker, and I don't give any commission back. It boggles me to see people trying to save mere 1% commission and end up losing 8 to 10% in the back end because of not having negotiator who would protect every dollar of their hard-earned equity. And that's exactly why over 55 families chose to work with me last year.
Whoa, that's right. When it comes to making one of the biggest decisions in your life, you need to have a bulldog negotiator on your side. So whether you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate, just text or call 408-771-4088. That's 408-771-4088. Or look up Eddie Oberoi online to see his 5-star reviews and the passion that he brings to the industry. EddieOberoi.com. That's EddieOberoi.com.
Here is a bright and light wellness tip.
To feel bright and light when you wake up in the morning, start your day off with a glass of warm water as opposed to your coffee or chai. Hi, I'm Prajwala from Bright and Light Wellness.
That was Wellness Coach Prajwala. To learn more about how Bright and Light Wellness can help you reach your health goals, visit brightandlightwellness.com or call 408-982-7725. That's 408-982-7725.
Is there anyone in your life who you want to take care of in the future who has a disability or special needs? It could be a child, it could be a grandchild, it could be a loved one, it could be a friend. If there is anyone in your life with special needs who you want to financially support in the future, it's critical that you don't leave them money directly. Instead, you need to create a special needs trust for their benefit. By doing this, you can make sure that someone you trust can manage money for them and that they don't lose very important government benefits. I'm Mark Gilfix.
That was attorney Mark Gilfix from the best estate planning law firm in the Bay Area, Gilfix and Lapole Associates. For more information, visit gilfix.com or call them on 650-493-8070. That's 650-493-8070.
Hi, this is Vidya Balan, and you're listening to Radio The Hotties, where the entertainment keeps getting hotter.
Welcome, Bandhus. You're in the Wisdom Series right now, and our guest already is here right now, Dr. Shawnee Robbins. Welcome. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing great, thanks. Good to be here.
And of course, it's interesting. We're learning a lot of things about empathy, compassion, and Bandhu's actually writing to us about their experiences, about how they use the skills, and keep them coming, Bandhujan. We want to know exactly how you guys are using it and how useful these skills are. And yes, any feedback you have, anything you specifically want to focus on, please send us a message for sure. Go to the Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Hotties, or send us an email, bandhu@mediamahima.com. And right now, we're in conversation with Dr. Shawnee Robbins. Balajan, as you already know, he's a licensed psychologist and also an instructor at Stanford University, Balajan, and he's the one who pioneered the field of wisdom therapy. And what you guys listen to every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday around 9:30 is part of his research, which actually talks about wisdom skills. And we're talking about skills as something as basic as mindfulness, gratitude practice. And recently, we talked about empathy and compassion. We talked about how we can use that in your day-to-day life. Let's say you're a manager in your office and you work, how it's important for you guys to have the empathy towards your employees. So, Dr. Robbins, we understand being a manager at workplace, but there are some places where you can't be the manager. You have to be working with them in sync, like for instance, home, or I say relationships where one is not greater than the other, right? So in that space, how does one actually use these skills? And can you think of some scenarios where it's very crucial to be having the empathy and compassion for your significant other?
Yeah, in my opinion, I've been seeing couples in therapy for about 20 years, and the lack of empathy and compassion is one of the major causes of conflict at home. It's in marriages and romantic relationships, especially in other relationships as well, friendships and family relationships, because it's not that surprising when you think about when you suddenly are feeling bad, when you're feeling stressed, or when you're feeling sad about something. If the person next to you doesn't really care and says, well, you're feeling sad, well, suck it up and we got to go work, or we got to clean up, or we got people coming over. Suddenly, what message does that send? It sends the message, and it not just sends the message, it is the message that I'm less concerned with your well-being. And that's not a great thing to be on the receiving end of. If somebody feels like the person in front of them, their supposed partner, maybe even a life partner if it's husband or wife, is not putting their well-being as a high priority, as perhaps the highest priority.
Wow.
And so that's something that I would recommend to all couples. If it's not a high priority, it needs to be. And so, for example, think about being late to a party or having people come over, or whether the house is clean. Those are distant second, third, fourth priorities above the well-being of your partner. And so some people argue about whether the house is clean, and they're willing to argue and to put down and criticize and yell at and insult their partner because the house is not clean. There's all sorts of reasons for that, and some of them may go back to childhood and other things. But at the end of the day, if we can simply tell ourselves, my partner's well-being is of the highest importance to me. I want to know that they feel good. And when they don't feel good, I don't feel good. And then if they don't, I want to do something about it. There's a wonderful book by John Gottman on 7 principles for making marriage work. And so those of you who are interested in a much better relationship, long-term relationship, and much better marriage, you owe it to yourself to read this book. There's other good books, but that's probably one of the best. And it just gives you a sense of what does it take to have a really good marriage. And so we talked about mindfulness and empathy and other skill sets. This notion of having empathy between each other, and then compassion following up on that by behaviors. So if your partner's not feeling well, maybe picking up dinner on the way home and saying, you know what, don't worry about dinner. I don't want you to have to work too hard. I want you to be able to rest, without them even asking. And in many cases, not only do couples not do that and offer before they're even asked, even when they are asked, they say, well, I can't be bothered, or I'm tired, I don't feel like it. And so there's a dramatic lack of empathy and compassion in those kinds of responses. And that is a recipe for a lot of conflict and a lot of illness and in relationships. And so what we basically want is to become very good in empathy, and not just in romantic relationships, in everyday life. And if we can't do that to the person we love, then who can we bring empathy to?
I also want to ask you, there also one more skill you talked about, humility. It does tie in with this relationships. Am I right about that?
Yeah, absolutely, because humility, part of that, it tells us it's not all about us, and I may be missing something.
Yeah.
And so...
Great. And of course, Banjan, these are basic skills which you could use. And yes, empathy, compassion, we talked about different dimensions we can use in different scenarios. It's very crucial in the space of relationships, Banjan, because your significant other is going through the same kind of a thing, or could be a little more trouble which they might be going through. And I think empathy would be in understanding that and trying to do something to make it easy for them. Am I right in terms of the...
What can I do to make their lives a little better? Not only, I encourage couples to be a lot more ambitious than just not fighting. That's not very ambitious. That's not very inspiring. I strongly encourage romance. I encourage to be passionate about the person. Remember when we were, at a time when you met your partner and you started dating, and how excited you were when they walked into the room and wooing the partner and so on. Bringing that excitement back to the table.
Oh, I can already think about it. Right? When they're wooing the partner, they actually would be exercising empathy.
Yes.
And after some time, it fades.
It starts fading. We start taking ourselves and each other for granted.
Yeah.
And so why renewing that? So remember, if you recall, gratitude practice was dishabituation.
Correct.
So getting dishabituated, meaning that we bring new appreciation to something we've had for a while, like being able to walk or having a car or having a job or things like that. We now take for granted. Same thing with our romantic partner. Instead of taking them for granted, we extend empathy to them. We extend gratitude. When they walk into the room, we stop what we're doing and we get up and give them a hug. Those kinds
simple
of
things, yeah.
Simple things like that come from these practices naturally. If we feel empathy and mindfulness, we don't have to memorize that we should get up and give them a hug, even when we're distracted and may not feel empathy, it's still a good practice. A hug is always nice. But if it comes out of a genuine feeling of it's great to see you, because of a genuine appreciation for the fact that we're having this relationship and it's a loving one and so on, then it's even more so. It's even more wonderful.
And of course, Banjan, what's wonderful is the way I'm seeing all these skills come together. And if you wonder, oh my God, it started off as a 5-minute segment, you guys are doing it longer. The reason is, Banjan, all these are tying together, and I hope you guys are able to grasp all these skills. Yes, don't worry. If at all you feel, oh my God, I missed the particular segment, we have it on our website. Go check it out. We have a small information about the segments and what we talked about. We're also recording on there for you guys to listen to Dr. Robbins talk about these skills for you guys for sure. And today's focus was empathy and compassion, especially in the dimensions of relationships. This personal relationships, Banajan, could be spouse or could be a significant other. And yes, if you have any questions regarding these things, you always send us a message on Facebook, facebook.com/Radio Dhotties. Of course, go check it out on pragnya.org. Dr. Robbins, again, thank you so much. We would love to learn more about the other skills in the next segment.
That's great. Good to be here. Thank you.
That was a beautiful segment that we heard on empathy and compassion in relationships, Vandajan. That was with Dr. Shawnee Robbins. He is a psychologist from Stanford and is also a renowned, speaker at several different psychological conventions. And also, he is a double doctorate in mindfulness and wisdom therapy. And this particular segment was made possible by this wonderful organization called Pragnya for Autism. That is an organization that works with children on the autism spectrum and works towards autism acculturation by bringing together the neurotypical and the neurodiverse communities to work together.
All right, Banjan, right now it's time for us to go take a look at what's happening with the news for you guys around the world and also in America for the matter. And yes, if you want to catch up in detail about whatever we talk to you guys on and in brief, you can go to check it out on the news blog, MediaMahima.com. Right now it's time for us to take a peek into the news desk of MediaMahima.com.
Well, the whole world is talking about the Ethiopian plane crash, and more countries have joined the list. But there's something else that has actually caught the attention. And yesterday, a huge news story broke about college admissions and the scandal that a lot of famous top-notch celebrities have indulged in. What is it? Well, it's being called the biggest college admission scam ever. 50 people, including rich parents, famous actresses, college prep officials, and coaches, are accused in a federal indictment of participating in a scheme to get students into top-notch colleges. Here's how the scam allegedly worked. Parents paid a college prep organization to take the tests on the students' behalf or correct their answers.
Wow.
Yes. The organization also bribed college coaches to get the students into desired schools as recruited athletes, even if they didn't play sports, prosecutors said. The biggest names caught up include actresses, the Desperate Housewives star, Felicity Huffman, Lori Loughlin. Prosecutors have said that they have Huffman, a one-time Oscar nominee, on tape talking about this particular scheme. The charges against them have spurred a lot of Desperate Housewives and Full House jokes, but this is no laughing matter. A senior academic advisor at the University of Minnesota says this cheating scandal is just the tip of the iceberg, and this may be the craziest thing. Some of the accused allegedly paid enough in bribes to finance a full college education. Top-notch CEOs of big companies, and many of them from Palo Alto, from San Francisco, from California, are included in this list. Banjan, if you want to catch the whole list, you can go to mediamahima.com. The pilot of the Ethiopian Airlines flight that crashed over the weekend was wrestling with flight control problems before the plane went down, the airline CEO has told news sources. A number of nations have temporarily banned Boeing 737 MAX jets from flying in their countries as authorities continue investigating the air tragedy, and many still wonder if there is any link between this crash and October's Lion Air disaster when another 737 MAX 8 flight went down in the Java Sea, killing 189 people. Right now, the only countries that are flying the 737 MAX planes are the US and Canada.
What?
Yes.
How could they?
But apparently, NASA is reporting that, the pilots who have been flying, even in the United States, the Boeing 737 jets, have reported something called when the flight is on autopilot, but apparently the plane begins to nosedive.
Whoa, my
And
God.
then they immediately disengaged the autopilot, and then they manually flew the flight. Apparently. So there have been several reports, but nothing has been they're saying that FAA is saying that we haven't found any reason to ground the flights thus far. But more on that story as and when it unfolds. Breaking news about Paul Manafort. He actually is going to serve a total of more than 7 years following a DC guilty plea. He received a total sentence of 7.5 years in prison on Wednesday following the guilty plea in Washington, D.C. conspiracy case. Judge Amy Berman Jackson effectively added about 3.5 more years in prison to the sentence Manafort received last week from a different judge in the Eastern District of Virginia. Jackson said Manafort could serve some of the time to which she was sentencing him at the same time he was serving in prison for his other case, but the judge in Washington ultimately increased his total amount of prison time, so he's going to be in prison for 7.5 years. Speaking of prison time, Governor Gavin Newsom is going to be signing an executive order today that is going to suspend the death penalty, and that will give some temporary reprieve also to the inmates currently awaiting death row in California. So this action suspends any further executions in California as long as Newsom is governor, his office has said, but only the voters can repeal the death penalty, something that they rejected narrowly. The voters rejected the repealing this death penalty a few years ago. And Mike Pompeo is saying that China is in a league of its own in human rights violations, and He talked about abuses in Iran, South Sudan, Nicaragua, and China, included in an annual State Department human rights report on Wednesday, saying Beijing was in a league of its own when it comes to violations. He even said that the Iranian government had killed more than 20 people and arrested thousands without due process for protesting their rights, continuing a pattern of cruelty the regime has inflicted upon the Iranian people for the last 4 decades.
Wow.
So, but then he says, then there is China, which has got, I mean, you know, they don't even report these violations. So you can actually read up on that story too on MediaMahima.com. Well, that's all we have for you on this morning's edition of Good Morning Bay. Go subscribe to our YouTube channel on Radio Day Hotties Banajan if you'd like to watch our shows live there as well. We will see you tonight live at 5 on the Pam Pam Show. Till then, have a beautiful, wonderful Wednesday.
की जुबानी सुनिए शहर की कहानी यहाँ रात में ही होता तेरे वहम को भगा दी लड़कियां ना गाड़ी अपनी अलग ही आबादी असल रैप का ये ज्वाला तेरे आत्मा में जगा दी